Nat 20. Hi folks, Merlin here, bringing you another Dungeons & Dragons adventure video. So I'm barely finished with Delivery 6 and Delivery 7 has arrived. So we'll be taking a look at that in a separate video, but today we are here to look through issue 21. So yeah, halfway through Delivery 6. Taking that week off has really put me behind, but I'm catching up. So what do we get in this issue? So of course a brand new exciting adventure, which is a start of another two-parter. We learn all about swearing the Paladin's Oath. We have all about cults. We have the second part of designing a map. Again, it's not a very good thing, but it's helpful. I'm hoping it builds up to something a little bit more involved and artistic. And then we have how to wrap up an adventure. So, free gifts on the back page. We have a brand new character, an Orc Paladin. So second level for that, and we have of course first and second level abilities for the Paladin class in the issue, so we can get on and play her straight away. Issue 21 also includes another set of dice, and it's probably my least favourite set, a platinum set, or so it's labelled. It's a bit too much silver for my liking. I do like the blue. Perhaps if we had a little bit of a different colour than the silver, it might have been better, but it's two types of silver marbled in, so not the best. Yeah, so we'll have a look through that in just a sec, and of course, as I mentioned, I'll do my separate video for unboxing Delivery 7. Before we dive over to the table then, don't forget to do all the usual. Click the like button if you're enjoying the content, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check out the links in the video description, including my Patreon page, where you'll be able to see this video a whole 5 days early. Right, that's pretty much the introduction out of the way. Let's hop over to the table and we can take a closer look at issue 21 and all its new wonderful content. So here we are with issue 21, and yeah, we have some really good articles to go through. I read this while filming my latest paint video, which I just need to edit as of this video, which is a Patreon exclusive one. So if you are on Patreon, you will get, of course, that video as a paid member. So yeah, like I said, we've got our dice to look at, and it's not my favourite set. So we'll have a look at those and give them a roll in just a sec. First off then, let's take another look at that glorious front cover. I really do like the artwork for these. So issue 21, we have a new and exclusive adventure. We swear the Paladin's Oath. We learn all about the different cults within the Forgotten Realms. We have design a dungeon map, so the second part of our designing maps articles. And we learn all about wrapping up an exciting adventure with next week on dun dun dun. We've actually just had that happen to us in my current game that I'm playing through with some friends at my local gaming store. Yeah, basically the entire party has been rendered unconscious by a cult. Well, everyone's been put to sleep except me, as I'm an elf, so they just bonked me over the head. Ouch. So yeah, we've been pretty much rendered unconscious, and now we're being taken hostage by an evil cult. So not looking forward to the next game, which will be on April the 9th or 11th. Second and third Tuesday every month. So yeah, I might even start doing recap videos for you guys, just to let you know how things went with each session, if you'd like that, of course. Speaking of things you've been asking for, come payday, I will be picking up a cheap tablet that I can use for holding secondary information on, meaning I can film on my phone and not have to jump out of Windows to look up information. So I can have the tablets as a sort of a gaming aid, and I can start filming my planned solo playthroughs for Dungeons and Dragons Adventure. Alright then, let's take a look at those dice and see how they roll, and yeah, we'll start looking through the magazine. Right then, so yeah, we've got this platinum set, as it mentions on the inside cover, and really it doesn't appeal to me. Maybe other people, but yeah, it's too much silver. And for me, silver should always be an accent colour, unless it's accented with, or mixed in with another colour. So, I mean, I like my silver Necrons, but they are pretty dull in comparison to these. Plus, it is just another set of dice. We are getting a bit fed up with these. We are getting some issues in the near future which have different colours, as well as some issues that aren't dice, which is quite nice. I believe issue 26 or 27 has a new set of standees. And we are getting another giant Dungeons and Dragons dice as well. Plus we're moving on to our third colour. So yeah, they do look nice, they have a nice shine to them. But I'm not that big a fan of silver. I am a big fan of rolling an 18. We got a 4, a 1, a 1, another 4, 30, and a 6. Okay, D20 is proving nice. I might have to pick the best dice from my sets to see which ones I'll make into a proper gaming set. Okay, now it's just roll a 6, so yeah, that's gone backwards. 12 on the D12, still a 1 on that D4. Me and D4s don't get on very well. Yeah, okay. Pretty poor rolling on the second time. Yeah, I don't see myself using these. They do have a lovely metallic effect to them, but it's a little too metallic-y. I've got a little bit of the moulding, looks like it's stuck in there. I must admit, they do have a really nice shine, so it shows they're good quality. But, yeah. I really do love the blue, which seems to be a nice mixture of different blues swirled in. That looks really nice and standing out. I just wish it is marbled up with perhaps black to give us a nice, not so bright and in your face colouring. But that's enough time, I think, spent on the dice. So let's start taking a look at the contents of issue 21. Right then, let's dive in. So, issue 21, we have our full contents. So, Adventure 2, Encounter 21, Dancing with Devils, Part 1. Sage Advice, so we have 3 pages for the DM, Making Maps, Part 2, Reading the Room, and the Endgame. And a yawn, apparently. Character creation, and we have 3 pages for the Paladin, so the Paladin rank itself, and its features at 1st and 2nd level. Finally, for our lore, then we have cults as a nice bit of faction information there. So with this issue, the 21st issue of Dungeons & Dragons Adventure comes with a 2nd level Paladin character sheet, which I forgot to look at in the freebies. I will put it up towards the end. Also included are a set of platinum dice as dazzling as the scales of Behemoth. So yeah, if you do follow the Dragon Cult of Behemoth, perhaps they might be the set for you, but definitely not for me, I'm afraid. D&D Beyond website, QR code there for you to scan, and of course a note on binders and customer service. Right, let's take a look then at making maps. So part 2, dungeon maps. Every good dungeon needs a map. Here's how to draw your own. So a rather basic article that just gives you top tips on how to create your own dungeon maps. You want to have a blank piece of graph paper which is obviously paper with a grid drawn on. Ideally, you want them to have, if you can have 1 inch square, that's fine, because then you can use the map as an actual in-game map. If you have it at like 1 centimeter a square, that's ideal more for a handout sort of map that perhaps somebody has quickly scrolled down and given that to players. But yeah, you want to make use of the squares. You want to draw a scale on the map. So really 1 square will represent 5 to 10 feet, depending on the size of the map. Like I said, the larger size ones that your figures can actually stand on will represent more a 5-foot radius map. Smaller ones then could even represent a 10-foot radius, like this one here. It's a more wider spread look at the entire map, so each of these squares could be 10 feet, or they could be 5. It mentions about including various different pieces. So as we can see here, we've got different elevations, we've got different details. So we've got altars, staircases, crypts. We've got a laboratory type room or workshop there. We've got collapsed tunnels as well, and dead bodies to consider as well. So yeah, pretty cool detailing there. So over the back, we've got behind the doors, how to, again, continues more about what items to consider about putting into your maps. We've got some lovely maps here in detail. So we've got a rather bubbling poisonous pool leading down into a smaller drinking fountain there. We've got a little church area sort of thing here. We've got a study. And yeah, some more sort of experimental potion sort of rooms. Then we've got some most notable maps here from Dungeons & Dragons materials. So yeah, and at the bottom we got some top tips on things to do with your map. So numbers, keying out in keyed to your notes on what's in each room, the walls and boundaries, doors and passages, pillars, statues, altars and furnishings, difficult terrain such as pools, rivers and rubble, hazards, secret doors and stairs. So yeah, pretty good article. I just wish we had something that was a little bit more tutorial. So perhaps giving you a stage by stage on how to make your own map. I do find pictorial guides a lot easier than written guides. So yeah, that would have been nice. Perhaps in a future issue, this is only part 2 of how to create maps. I'm sure we'll get to the point where we add a lot more details. Maybe we'll have a guide on how to make simplistic icons that can be put onto maps, etc. Yeah, who knows? We'll see what happens in the future. Next up for the DM, we look at reading the room. So whether they're in a dungeon, a house, a crypt, or a cavern, rooms shouldn't be a set of interchangeable walls, doors, and furnishings. Instead, DMs need to give each room a character of their very own. So a handy article that sort of follows on from creating maps. This is all about how to make the most out of describing your rooms. So it goes through a few examples on how to describe and set up a room. So we got a kitchen as a typical example here. The door opens into a large cluttered kitchen. Sunlight streams through windows along the west wall. At the back of the room, a mastiff slumbers and snores on a mat in front of a stove. A hefty cauldron rests over a fire pit in the center of the room, its contents bubbling and issuing a rich aroma of stew. There are 2 closed doors, one in the north wall and one in the east. What do you do? So yeah, it gives a pretty good explanation about what the room is, what it looks like. Gives the players information such as exits and entryways, so the doors and possibly even the windows. The kitchen should automatically give them an idea of what a kitchen looks like. Everyone has a kitchen or has seen a kitchen. Mentioning things such as light, smells will help fill your players' senses. And yeah, really good article to read. And then we got keep it snappy, so short descriptions are the best things. So you don't want to take half an hour explaining every single detail, including all the cracks in the stones on the floor, unless those are kind of important to perhaps a puzzle. And then we've got no room for doubt article, so be sure to identify visible threats in the room. So perhaps for our kitchen example, we've already mentioned that the mastiff's there, so we could even mention that there is a cook with their back to us labouring over a cutting board. So yeah, pretty cool. I really do like this artwork. So Zors was here. This bar sucks. And he want to play the game of noughts, crosses and triangles against himself, and yeah, really left the bar in a less than satisfactory state. So moving on, we have the end game. So all great game sessions boast a satisfying ending. Thankfully, there are ways to make sure your players leave the table happy and looking forward to the next adventure. So yeah, a very handy article. Gives you a few tips on how you want to end the session. Perhaps if you are coming towards the end of time, you know everyone needs to be leaving, you might want to help hurry things along by introducing a NPC that will give them a hint and get them to the final scene. You could also make the bodyguards of the boss's chamber a little weaker, just so they can get to the final fight that you want to try and end on for this session. Then for wrapping up, so at the end of the session or adventure, it's often a good idea to spend several minutes wrapping things up with a short epilogue, giving the players chance to say what they're doing in between this and the next session. Usually the DM will allow you to do things on your own, such as level up, administer your equipment, etc. You also want to give them a chance to ask a few questions at the end of each session, just in case there's some things they weren't too sure on. I know we got afflicted by battle rage. All of us went into a fight just wanting to have the fight, and we totally forgot that the guy was given a purse full of money for delivering the stolen farm foods. So yeah, we actually let him go, and we forgot to pickpocket him. And the DM was like, yeah, don't forget you could have had this. And it's like, but yeah, we didn't do too badly. But like I said, we have been wrapped up in the form of being rendered unconscious and taken prisoner. So yeah, really fun and enthusiastic article on how to create the best end scenarios for each session and even the full adventure. Right, moving on to our character classes. So this time we are looking at the Paladin. These champions of justice stand as beacons of light against the darkness. So the Paladin is a brilliant fantasy trope. These are holy warriors, usually heavily armed and armoured from head to toe, and have, of course, the divine powers within them to spare life and even heal the wounds of enemies, and even throw... What's the word? Throwing a warband into chaos through powers of the divine. So yeah, some nice descriptions of different types of paladins. So we've got a dwarf, a human, an elf. Yeah, really cool. So it mentions article of Faction 7, the Pantheon Gods, to choose your god that you're servicing as a paladin. Then over the side, we have the cause of the righteousness. So a paladin swears to uphold justice and righteousness, to stand with the good things in the world against the encroaching darkness, and hunt down the forces of evil wherever they lurk. So yeah, paladins are usually good aligned, but there is nothing stopping you from being a rather chaotic Paladin, as it mentions here, you could be a Oathbreaker Paladin, which we covered in a future article. But yeah, these are basically Paladins who have broken their oaths and have taken on a vow of vengeance. I know we used to have a murder hobo Paladin in one of our old parties. Murder hobo is literally the guy who wants to go in and kill everything and ask questions to dead corpses later on. We usually have to rein him in sessions. Yeah, it's crazy. So as we've been introduced to a new class, we of course have features for this class. So, Paladin features of the first level. A Paladin's righteous nature allows them to tap into the pool of healing power and detect the presence of strong evil or good. So yeah, Paladins are detectors of evil and good. They will fight, of course, for good and against evil all the time. So yeah, they have several abilities at the first level. So Divine Sense is one. This allows them to identify creatures such as celestials, fiends, and undead within a 60-foot radius, as long as they're not, of course, in total cover. You'll also be made aware of holy and unholy sites in the same area vicinity. You will not be able to precisely identify anything, so you might be able to identify that you're facing an undead, but you won't be able to identify that it is a vampire. Secondly, for level 1, they have Lay on Hands. This is their basic healing. They have Blessed Touch that basically passes energy from them to the injured and heals any wounds. Kind of think of Force Healing from Star Wars. It's, yeah, pretty much that. Then we have Paladin features of the second level. So these champions of justice and righteousness add combat skills and spellcasting to their abilities as they progress. So when you level up to level 2, you have to pick a fighting style. So you can either have defense, dueling, great weapon fighting, or protection. So each of these are quite different and unique. I like to make use of dueling with my Were-Rat Warlock. He has a dagger and a rapier, and he gets the benefit of fighting with 2 hands, adding extra damage rolls. He can also manifest a great weapon out of a packed weapon. So you could also, if you wanted to, use great weapon fighting. Protection, you need to be using a shield in order to give defense to characters within 5 feet of you. And defense itself gains +1 AC while wearing armor. So at second level then we have spellcasting abilities, so you can draw on your divine magic through meditation and prayer to cast spells. This is done using your charisma stat. So for example, Ushug Bagok, a Paladin Orc, can stop a thief from running away by casting command. The thief in question will need to make a DC save of 13 to stop the spell from taking effect, but if they fail, then basically she can stop the character from legging it. Finally, the most famous of all Paladin abilities or spells is Divine Smite. So smite them, O mighty smiter. So yeah, you can when you hit a creature with a melee weapon, you can expend a spell slot to deal radiant damage. So this extra damage is 2d8 when expending a first level spell slot, plus 1d8 for each spell level higher than the first, so a maximum of 5d8. Unless, of course, your target is an undead or fiend, which you add an additional 1d8 to a maximum of 6d8. And then we have our hit point increase, of course, at second level, so you roll 1d10 or take the average score of 6. Finally then, before we look into our adventure for the issue, we have an article all about cults. Followers of dark and secret paths, cultists lurk everywhere in the Forgotten Realms. So yeah, you can't go more than 10 feet without coming across a cultist, whether they are knowing or unknowing to you of them, or whether it is knowing or unknowing to you that they are indeed a cultist. So cultists are relatively secretive. They will try to amass as many people as they can to their cause. So So yeah, various different cults across Faerun, such as whether they follow a fiend or an aberration or an ancient lich, maybe even a dragon queen. So yeah, cultists are extremists. They kind of consider themselves religious, but they are fanatical in that religion. And yeah, so they often lurk in the dark underbellies of cities. And over the page we have a few notable famous cults. So the Ashmedai, these are also known as the messengers of the Raging Fiend. They are based in Neverwinter and are devil worshippers, focusing on the Lord of the Nine Hells, Asmodeus. We then have the Cult of the Dragon, so dragon cultists wear a black and purple colouring. They believe in fulfilling a dark prophecy, and yeah, they put their faith in Tiamat, the evil dragon god. Then we have the Cult of Elements, so here we have at the bottom the elemental evils. So the Cult of Howling Hatred follows Yin-Kabin, the Prince of Evil Air. The Cult of Black Earth does the bidding of Ogrimok, the Mountain that Walks. The Cult of Eternal Flame is devoted to Imix, the all-consuming fire. And the Cult of Crushing Wave worships Olindra, the Princess of Evil Water. And finally we have the Knights of the Black Sword, who are devoted to Levistus, the Archdevil who rules Stagia, the 6th level of Hell. They are usually located in the Icewind Dales of the Frozen Northlands, where they have usually been approached by their god and saved from freezing to death, basically, and now devote themselves entirely. So, on to our encounter. So, Adventure 2 Encounter 21 is Dancing with Devils Part 1. So, this is another extended quest and will be completed in issue 22. So, an adventure is based for level 2 players. You can use your pre-generated character sheets or create your own. Playtime of 1 to 2 hours. So, the leader of the Ashmedai discovered a new ritual in which infernal souls are summoned to possess humanoids. The cult wants to use this newer power to seize control of Neverwinter. In the past few weeks, many clerks and bureaucrats working for the government reported being followed by intimidating figures, and 4 days ago, many of them disappeared. They are not the only ones, however. Beggars, drunks, and other vulnerable people have been vanishing from the streets. The Order of the Gauntlet stepped in to face this crisis, and many of the knights patrol the streets at night. Night knights. But they are not enough. Having heard of their exploits, Sir Lanivere Strail calls upon the adventurers to find the missing people and stop the scheme of the cult before it's too late. So our goals to complete this adventure: we, the party, must investigate the case and track the Ashmedai to their hideout in the sewers. So how to begin the encounter. So we have the Order of the Gauntlet background here. We have the Hall of Justice. So we've got a character that we are interacting with here. Then we have the Sir Lanivere as well to play. We have the actual plot of the Ashmedai. We have a couple of holy icons that we are given to help us in the quest as well. And even a spell. So tracking Terentius, confronting him, a special delivery, meeting with the Shattered Giant. If we had missed any clues, we need to revert back to Encounter 19. The hideout entrance we need to seek, and then any developments. And then we have our stat blocks, so we face off against a bearded devil, possessed cultist, and infernal fanatic. So no actual dungeon this particular time. This is more a journey adventure, but we do have some enemies to face. Finally, before I give you my final thoughts, let's take a look at our brand new character, Ushug Bagok. So she is a paladin with a spy background, is an orc, and is level 2. So strength is +4, dexterity +0, constitution +1, intelligence +0, wisdom +1, and charisma +3. So she has proficiency in wisdom and charisma saving throws, or expertise, and then she's proficient in deception, insight, religion, and stealth. But has some pretty good stats nonetheless. 18 hit points, 16 armor, so she's a pretty tanky character. Perfect for a paladin. Weapons, she has a great sword and a short sword. Has 15 gold and her kit there as well. Personality traits, I always have a plan for what to do when things go wrong, which is more than any of my team at the moment has. It's sort of arguing and do something at the moment. So very early stages of a decent party. Then we have our back page. So the first level spells, they have 2 spell slots to prepare spells and some more description information. So she's 35, 6 foot, so she's medium height, 200 pounds, yellow eyes, greyish skin tone even, and black hair. And we see a lovely picture of her in her armor with a great sword. And yeah, so she's a paladin spellcasting class with charisma ability, spell saves 13, and +5 to spell attacks. So yeah, right. I'll bring everything back in and I'll give you my final thoughts on issue 21. So there we have issue 21 of Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer. And a very lovely DM-focused issue. So 3 whole pages of information there for the DM, focusing on maps, creating, how to describe a room, and how to wrap up an adventure. We also have some brand new pages on character class, so we're looking at the Paladin now, as we have a brand new Paladin character to deal with, to deploy into our adventures. And we learn a bit about cults before having to start seeking one out. So yeah, information is looking pretty solid for this issue. For the gifts then, the character sheet is always welcome. Again, I really wish they gave us both levels, so we could run these characters right from the beginning if we wanted to. But yeah, I do like, well, as I mentioned, the dice are nice, they're just not my colour, a bit too silvery for my liking. But otherwise they have a lovely, nice, enchanted sort of blue to them. I'm sure somebody will enjoy this set. They'll go into my spares for future use, hopefully. But yeah, other than that, really the character sheet and the contents of the issue is what's going to give this thing a 4.5 out of 5. So I'm hoping that eventually some of the dice will be a little bit more better. I know we're getting some special sets soon. We're getting, I think it's a set with daggers in. We're also getting, again, another premium set in that green, in that black and this time green sort of colour scheme we've already previously seen for red and blue. Also getting some nice stone effect dice. We're getting a jade set. We're also getting some nice metal sets. Not too keen on the marshmallow pink, as it's called, metal ones. They look a little weird. But yeah, it's some nice sets coming soon. But that is going to be saved for a later video. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this issue. As I said, 4.5 out of 5, which is pretty good. I do love the fact we've got a nice lot of information, especially for the DM there. So with that said, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep rolling those crits.